A woman vanished from her own home, leaving behind a trail of strange messages. Police launched an investigation, but for years it led nowhere. Then, detectives took an unusual step, something straight out of a detective movie, and finally uncovered the shocking truth. Lisa Mitchell was born on August 5, 1983, in Calgary, Canada. From an early age, she had a real love for anything creative. When she was just 4, she got into drawing, and that passion stuck with her as she got older. In high school, she also discovered a love for music and even started a band with a few of her friends. After graduation, Lisa decided to hold off on college. She needed to work and support herself, so she bounced between a few part-time jobs. While working at a restaurant, she met a man named Alan. The two started dating, and a few years later, they had 2 kids, a boy and a girl. Eventually, they moved into their own home in a quiet neighborhood and focused on raising their family. This went on until October 2012. On the 27th, Lisa, who was 29 at the time, headed to her evening shift at a hotel where she worked alongside her mom. That night, the hotel was hosting a Halloween-themed party, and Lisa and her mom had a great time working the event together. After her shift, Lisa decided to spend the night at her mom's place, since the drive back to her own house was pretty long. The next morning, they chatted about the party and talked over their plans for the week, when suddenly, Lisa's phone rang. After a quick call, she told her mom she had to head home right away. She said goodbye, got in her car, and left. Her mom thought it was a little odd, but didn't dwell on it at the time. However, over the next few days, that feeling of unease started to grow because Lisa never called her back. And that just wasn't like her. Lisa usually checked in with her mom a few times a week, no matter what. Her mom tried calling, but Lisa didn't pick up. At first, she figured Lisa was probably just busy, but as the days passed and there was still no word, she started to feel like something wasn't right. Eventually, she decided to drive over to Lisa's house to make sure everything was okay, but Lisa wasn't there. Instead, she was met by Alan, who told her he had no idea where Lisa was either. According to him, the day after she left her mom's, October 28th, they had gotten into an argument. He said he went out to buy cigarettes, and when he came back, Lisa was gone. But something about that story didn't sit right with Lisa's mom. She couldn't imagine her daughter just leaving without saying a word, and especially abandoning her kids. Then, she noticed something strange. While talking to Alan in the hallway, she saw Lisa's winter coat and boots still in the closet. And since it was cold outside, there was no way Lisa would have gone anywhere without them. That's when she decided to look around the rest of the house. Inside, she found Lisa's favorite bracelet and necklace, the one she always wore whenever she left home. Her purse, on the other hand, was nowhere to be found. Before she left, Alan mentioned one more thing. He said Lisa had sent him an email and suggested her mom check her inbox too. When she got home, she turned on the computer, and sure enough, there was a message from Lisa. In it, Lisa said she was just feeling tired and needed to get away for a while. As strange as it all seemed, the messages that followed kept reassuring her that everything was okay. They kept exchanging emails over the next few weeks, but no matter how many times her mom asked, Lisa never explained why she suddenly left, or where she was. On November 16th, Lisa's mom woke up to find a missed call from her daughter. It had come in at 2:45 in the morning and went to voicemail. At first, she felt a wave of relief just hearing Lisa's voice. But as she listened to the actual message, that relief quickly turned into concern. Something about it felt off, and the more she replayed it, the less sense it seemed to make. Lisa said, "Hey, I'm okay. Sometimes my weeks get crazy, you know, and it was quiet for a while, and then all of a sudden this happened, and within half a day I should, but he's back now and I gotta go. Love you." None of it made any sense. Who was she talking about? What had happened? The message only raised more questions. That's when Lisa's mom realized she couldn't just wait around any longer. She decided it was time to go to the police. She told them everything that had been going on, and investigators started a search for Lisa. After speaking with her mom, they learned that Lisa and Alan's relationship had been rocky from the beginning. Even before their kids were born, the couple broke up and got back together more times than anyone could count. Things settled down a bit after they had children, but eventually, new problems started to surface. Lisa was frustrated that Alan had never managed to hold down a steady job. He bounced from one gig to another and sometimes didn't work at all. That left Lisa to support the family on her own, juggling 2 full-time jobs while also raising the kids. It all started to wear on her, and Lisa had begun thinking about ending the relationship. But in the end, she stayed for the sake of the children. When detectives brought Alan in for questioning, he admitted the relationship had been troubled. He said that in recent years, he and Lisa had agreed to stay together only for the sake of their kids. According to him, Lisa had been seeing other men from time to time, and he claimed he was fully aware of it. As for her disappearance, Alan said he had no idea where she might have gone. He added that he wasn't all that surprised she decided to leave, but what he couldn't understand was how she could just walk away and leave him alone with 2 kids. Police searched the house, but didn't find anything that pointed to what might have happened. Then, they checked Lisa's computer and found conversations with several men, which raised some eyebrows since those men lived in other cities. Investigators started to wonder if maybe Lisa had gone to stay with one of them. But when they contacted them, each of the men said the same thing. They hadn't seen Lisa. Police also tried to trace the email address that had been sending messages to Lisa's mom, as well as the phone number that left the voicemail, but neither led anywhere. Over the following months, investigators kept searching for new leads and pushed Lisa's story out to the media, but there was still no sign of her. Lisa's mom eventually stopped receiving emails, and with each passing month, her hope of ever seeing her daughter again began to fade. Deep down, she suspected Alan might have had something to do with Lisa's disappearance, but every time she brought it up, police told her the same thing. There was no evidence linking him to the case. As for Alan, he continued raising the kids on his own and eventually landed a steady job with decent pay. He met a man who was opening a new car dealership, and the guy offered him a full-time position. Later on, that man's girlfriend started babysitting Alan's kids from time to time, which made things a little easier for him. Eventually, Alan started thinking about dating again, and not long after, he actually got the chance. One day, as he was leaving work, a woman accidentally rear-ended his car. She lost control due to the weather and told him her company would cover the repairs. As a friendly gesture, she also gave him a pair of hockey tickets. They stayed in touch after that, and Alan started thinking about the possibility of building something more with her. This went on for about 2 years. It seemed like Alan was moving on with his life, and there were still no updates, no signs, and no messages from Lisa. In early December 2014, 2 years after Lisa's disappearance, Alan went on a work trip to another city with 2 of his coworkers. While he was there, he got a call from the police. A detective introduced himself and said he'd just been assigned to Lisa's case. He told Alan he believed Lisa was no longer alive and that they had a warrant to search his house again. In fact, they were already on their way. At that moment, Alan was sitting with his coworkers, and according to them, his face went completely pale during the call. After hanging up, he asked for a cigarette and said he needed to talk to them. Alan said that 2 years earlier, he and Lisa had gotten into yet another argument. He couldn't even remember what started it, only that it escalated quickly. According to him, Lisa grabbed a kitchen knife and started threatening him. She allegedly said she could send him to the hospital, then call the cops and claimed he attacked her first, and he'd end up in prison. Alan claimed that what happened next was a blur. Somehow, he managed to grab the knife from her, then pushed her to the floor and started choking her. When he realized she was dead, panic set in. He didn't know what to do, but in the end, he decided to bury her body underneath the house and make it look like she had simply left. After finishing his story, Alan turned to one of his coworkers for advice. He knew this man had gone through something somewhat similar in the past. The coworker had told Alan that he once crashed his car while driving drunk, and his friend who was in the car with him died. To avoid taking the blame, he had moved his friend's body into the driver's seat. So now, Alan was looking to him for guidance. He started thinking through his options. He considered running away or trying to quickly hire a good lawyer who might be able to challenge the search warrant. At one point, he even floated the idea of going back to Calgary and burning the house down. But then he corrected himself, saying that a simple fire wouldn't be enough to destroy the evidence. He'd have to blow the whole place up. In the end, he realized he probably didn't have enough time to pull off any of those plans and decided that running was his best shot. His coworkers supported this idea, and Allen started thinking about where he could go. But there was one thing he hadn't accounted for. He wouldn't get the chance to carry out any of his plans. You see, that phone call from the detective wasn't just a heads up about a search warrant. In reality, it was the final step in a long, carefully planned police operation that had been in the works for over a year, all aimed at getting Allen to confess. Back in 2013, the province of Alberta had updated its laws regarding missing persons, giving law enforcement more tools to conduct investigations. Around that time, Lisa's case was handed off to a different department, and they immediately put those new tools to use. One of their first moves was digging deeper into the phone activity tied to the voicemail Lisa had left her mom. What they discovered was that the call came from a cheap, prepaid phone that had only been active for about a month after Lisa disappeared. During that time, it was used to make just 5 calls, 1 to Lisa's mom and 4 to Allen. The problem was, Allen had never once mentioned those calls to the police. What made things even more suspicious was the location of the phone activity. According to data from the cell provider, all 5 calls were made using a cell tower located near Lisa and Allen's home. And considering Lisa was supposedly long gone by then, that detail raised some serious red flags. That's when investigators started digging deeper into Allen's background. They pulled his financial records, and what they found was pretty disturbing. On the day Lisa disappeared, Allen had made a series of highly suspicious purchases: a large plastic tub, bleach, rubber gloves, cement, a big bucket, wooden boards, and cat litter. The last item stood out the most. Allen was severely allergic to cats, so there was no reason for him to be buying litter. Altogether, the purchases painted a grim picture. It looked like Allen had been preparing to get rid of a body. As for the phone Lisa supposedly used, detectives uncovered another clue: a purchase made with Allen's bank card at Walmart. The store had been selling the exact same model of prepaid phone used to make those 5 mysterious calls. But even with all of this, investigators still didn't have enough solid evidence to arrest Allen. They needed one of 2 things: either Lisa's body or a confession. So they came up with a bold plan: an undercover operation designed to infiltrate Allen's life. It was given the codename Aurora. The first step was to send in an undercover female officer. She accidentally bumped into Allen's car, which led to a casual conversation and, over time, a friendly connection. A little while later, she introduced him to another undercover officer, a man posing as someone about to open a new car dealership. He offered Allen a job, and the two quickly became friends. To keep up the illusion, police even made sure the dealership was set up and operating, so Allen would have no reason to suspect anything. Police brought in several more undercover officers to join the operation, placing them at the same dealership to build trust with Allen. Over time, they all became part of his daily life. Even the woman who often babysat his kids, the girlfriend of his supposed coworker, turned out to be an undercover cop. As the months passed, Allen began to trust them. That's when detectives decided it was time to move into the final phase of the operation. They set up a fake work trip involving Allen and 2 of the undercover officers who had been posing as his colleagues. During that trip, the lead detective planned to call Allen and tell him they were about to search his house, and that they believed Lisa's body was hidden there. The goal was simple: catch Allen off guard, make him panic, and hopefully get him to confess to the people he now saw as friends. And the plan worked almost perfectly. Both undercover officers who were traveling with Allen were wearing hidden recording devices, and they captured his full confession on tape. Shortly after Allen confessed to the undercover officers, he was arrested and brought back to Calgary. Meanwhile, investigators headed to his house to carry out the search. It's worth noting that police had actually searched the property 2 years earlier, including the basement, but nothing had seemed out of place at the time. This time, however, detectives had a clearer idea of what Alan might have done with Lisa's body, thanks to the list of suspicious purchases. So, they combed through the basement much more carefully. In one corner, they spotted a strange cemented-over platform. It looked out of place, and its height matched exactly the wooden board Alan had bought 2 years earlier. Officers began taking the structure apart, and it didn't take long before they uncovered a hidden space underneath. Inside was a large plastic tub, filled with salt and cat litter, and sure enough, inside that tub was the body of Lisa Mitchell. Even though Lisa's body had been hidden for 2 full years, Alan's attempt to preserve and conceal it ended up working against him. The way he stored the remains actually helped preserve them well enough for the medical examiner to determine a cause of death. Just as Alan had said in his confession, it was strangulation. And while police now had everything they needed to formally charge him, they also uncovered something else. When they went through Alan's computer, they found a series of internet searches made shortly after Lisa's death. He had been looking up how different materials and conditions affect the rate of decomposition. As for the emails Lisa supposedly sent to her mom during the first month she was missing, those were also traced back to Alan's computer. Even more disturbing, detectives discovered that Alan had secretly installed spyware on Lisa's phone. It let him not only listen in on her calls, but also record them. That's how he got the audio clip he later used in the voicemail to her mom. This revelation suggested that the murder may have been premeditated, directly contradicting what Alan had told the undercover officers during his confession. Still, proving that Alan had planned the murder in advance was nearly impossible. In the end, prosecutors agreed to reduce the charge to second-degree murder, which carried a lighter sentence. Alan's lawyer also advised him to take the deal and plead guilty. It was the best way to avoid facing a first-degree murder charge. But even then, Alan insisted he acted in self-defense. He claimed he had been a victim of domestic abuse for years, saying that Lisa had physically assaulted him on multiple occasions. Prosecutors, on the other hand, argued that Alan had planned the murder in advance, and then spent years trying to cover it up. In the end, the judge ruled there wasn't enough evidence to convict Alan of second-degree murder. Instead, he was found guilty of manslaughter and sentenced to just 7 years in prison. Prosecutors immediately filed an appeal, and the court sided with them. Alan's sentence was reviewed and extended, but only by 3 more years, bringing his total to 10. Lisa's family and friends were outraged, not just by the light sentence, but even more so when Alan was granted early release after serving just 5 years. However, he quickly violated the terms of his parole and was sent back to prison, where he remained until 2022, when he was officially released. So while the punishment may have seemed shockingly lenient, the case still marked a rare and remarkable win for law enforcement. For an entire year, a team of undercover officers became part of Alan's everyday life, earning his trust and slowly guiding him into a carefully planned trap, where he finally gave up the dark secret he'd been hiding for years. It's also worth mentioning that after Alan's arrest, Lisa's children were placed in the care of her mother, and they've been living with her ever since. Share your thoughts on this story in the comments section, and don't forget to press the like button if you enjoyed my video. Thank you for watching.